Barnett from Bloomberg Intelligence, and it's a real pleasure to join you here today to talk about the opportunity that AI presents within the energy space. So, as we heard on the last panel, I think we already know about the NVIDIAs of this world, the hyperscalers, the Amazons, the Googles, the Metas, which are geared to the thesis of AI. But one of the things we've also heard across this conference is that the data centers, the GPUs, require quite a bit of power and energy. And I want to give you a sense of which kind of companies we're looking at that are really geared to that thesis. So a little bit of quick background. The technology team at Bloomberg Intelligence has been thinking about generative AI for some time now. And on the screen, you'll see on the left-hand side a chart that shows how big we think the market is going to be. And if you can't quite read the numbers, basically by 2030, we think that generative AI is $1 trillion a year market. And so what's happening? All of the hyperscalers and then many other companies are ramping up their CapEx budgets. Most of them have more than doubled over the past couple of years. That's the chart on the right. And there are profound energy implications from this build out that we're seeing. Just to give you a sense of what this looks like in the US, if you use 2023 as a baseline, we think power demand could grow something like 4x to 10x by 2030. If you don't think about power markets very often, I've been working in this space for a couple of decades, you don't typically see things moving that quickly, particularly in the developed world. And I actually think there's a number of questions about whether the US power industry can rise to the challenge. And so that's why I think you're seeing a lot of the conversations around investments in this region, the Humane deal, for example, that was announced the other day in Saudi Arabia when President Trump was over here. And as we heard on the last panel, the existing infrastructure in the region is pretty limited. So the Humane deal is 500 megawatts. Saudi Arabia currently has 165 megawatts. So these are big numbers that are getting tossed around. And again, you can be thinking about very rapid growth between now and 2030. From a power demand perspective or energy demand perspective. And so then I think the question is, well, what kinds of electrons are going to help fill the need? And what I've got on the screen right now, again, this is US focused, but if you look at all of the projects that are out there in the ether, what kinds of power plants are getting built? Well, by and large, solar and storage are where the industry is at right now. And this is simply because of economics, because of tax policy, because of the pace with which you can build. If you want to build something quickly, you're probably going to do solar or maybe storage. We think gas has a real opportunity, and I'll give you a little bit more detail on that in a second. But if you want to build a new gas power plant, you've got a multi-year backlog. If you approach a company like GE Vernova, they're taking orders for 2029, 2030 right now. So while there are some real opportunities across the energy landscape, we think solar is probably the space where we see a lot of potential companies that could benefit from the build out of AI data centers. And so if you don't know the backstory, solar has been pretty challenged over the last couple of years, despite very generous tax policy support, and the previous administration in the U.S. was quite keen to support renewables generally, but we actually saw a pullback last year. If you want the backstory, grab me afterwards. I'm happy to kind of walk you through what transpired there. But when you look to 2025, 26, and forward, we think these companies are back to a growth narrative generally. And a big piece of that growth narrative is this rapidly rising demand for energy that's coming from data centers. We have a thing called focus ideas at Bloomberg Intelligence. These are the kinds of companies that we think consensus isn't quite dialed in correctly on some of the fundamentals. So First Solar and Enphase are two solar companies that we think have an opportunity to boost their revenues and profit faster than consensus. So happy to chat with anyone offline about kind of how those companies look and how this AI opportunity feeds into their narrative. Now, the companies in the US, the hyperscalers, they all have quite ambitious ESG and climate targets. In the ideal world, they would prefer for the electrons to be solar, wind, storage, nuclear, geothermal, anything that doesn't have a carbon molecule that's coming off of it. But the reality is, I think they're practical, they're ambitious, and they will be quite keen on gas as well. So from a gas perspective, we think that something like 3 upwards of 10 BCF per day in the US comes from the build out of data centers. If you don't know the U.S. market, those are pretty tremendous numbers, and it has opportunity from the pipeline operators down through the E&Ps, and of course, for anyone looking at the U.S. gas equation, LNG is also, just like Qatar, is a big part of the narrative. So there's a number of things that potentially drive the gas story in the U.S. You do hear a lot of discussion about nuclear as well. What I'm showing on the screen right now is the generation from nuclear output in the U.S., very stable over the last 25 years. We haven't built many new plants. Output has been steady, and we've seen this tremendous rise from the combination of wind and solar. They're basically rivaling nuclear in the U.S. at this point. But the hyperscalers are investing in nuclear. There's a company called NuScale. They've got a great ticker, SMR. They're really chasing some of this story as well, but I think you have to have skin in the game for a long time if you're thinking about nuclear, because the lead times, you have to think in decades, frankly. And so, maybe we're going to see nuclear, new nuclear play an important role post 2030, but I think there will be real challenges to get that done before many of the data centers will be built. So, and maybe on this region, I want to give you a sense. I think the same general principles are going to apply here as well. So there will be a great opportunity for gas, but I think solar is going to play a role here. We heard it on the previous panel. There's plenty of sun in this region. And so when you're looking for companies that can be geared to that, Jinko Solar comes to mind. They're the world's largest solar module maker. They produce about, or have the capacity to produce about 100 gigawatts of modules each year. This compares with the 600 gigawatt module market. So they are one of the largest players, and they've got a 10 gigawatt module fab under construction in Saudi Arabia. The expectation is that it'll be online in the second half of next year. So perhaps well positioned to supply the clean electrons that some of the hyperscalers will be looking for. So I hope this wets your beak on this topic a little bit. I will be continuing this discussion in the main plenary a little bit later. We do have some deep dives on the table that you are welcome to grab. If you want to specifically nerd out on energy and AI, you can scan this QR code that's up here on the screen and check out our 50-plus page report and go deeper. And with that, I am going to be handing it over to my colleague Alex Dueller for a panel on tech-driven capital. Thank you very much.